Awesome. Happy to do that. All right. Well, just to reintroduce myself, my name is Bruce Scull. I'm a senior strategic account executive at Frame.io. I've been with the company about 14 months now, so it's been a wild ride. Obviously, the Adobe acquisition was a really big thing for us last year, and I would say personally, I was a user of Frame.io before I started working there. Though it was light use, and now that I have my own enterprise account, I use it every day for just my own stuff, not even work stuff. I design NFTs. I've been making bad music for 28 years. I've been collaborating on a lot of different projects, both video and audio, with other artists, some across the world, some right in the backyard. And I love Frame.io, man. So I can very authentically come to you guys and tell you, I just think it's awesome. And I'm not sure, if you can sign up for free accounts, and or there's some like small paid plans you can go get. So maybe some of you have had some experience with Frame.io. Any like raise of hands? Anybody ever have an account or sign up for one? Have any experience with Frame.io? No. All right, well, good starting point then. I'll kind of take it from the top. I'm going to share my screen here. Give me 1 second.
I made you the host, so that should help.
Awesome. Can you guys see my screen there? Should see some logos,
Yes.
maybe. All right, cool. All right, so I mentioned some of the brands that we work with. It's kind of a big year for us, and we've got a pretty long list. So we work with anywhere from small freelance studios to some of the world's largest creative teams. And some of it's been in things like the entertainment space. Obviously, some of it's been in broadcast news. But pretty much anywhere video is being produced, created, collaborated, that type of content. We've been able to play a pretty interesting role in helping tighten up the screws when it comes to collaboration. So this is kind of the best way to visualize what our value proposition is. So I guess I'll start by saying, just to kind of take it from the top, Frame.io is a central platform to share, review, and approve content securely from anywhere in the world, including your couch. And a lot of our value proposition has to do with the fact that most of the tools that creatives are using, whether editing or producing or what have you, most of the tools are being used are just not designed. They're designed sort of for general purposes. They're not designed specifically for video. And Frame.io was. Everything was. And in fact, our CEO, who is now, I think, VP of digital products with Adobe, who stayed on with us, Emery, he kind of accidentally built Frame.io. Emery ran his own post house in New York City. He was doing, Super Bowl commercials, SNL shorts. So he had some decent work, but he was super frustrated about how wonky it was to collaborate with people, and how much time was lost, and how much waiting and just sitting around occurred. And he decided to try and fix it. And so he essentially built Frame.io for his own studio, but it was really good and people really liked it. And so he went a different direction, invested himself in Frame.io and empowering collaboration. And so here we are. But I guess the best way to sort of describe or visualize who we are and what we do is through this picture here. And again, with a lot of the tools that are used, whether it's for communication or whether it's for storage or file transfer or all these things, you see, there's those Slacks and Dropboxes and WeTransfer and WhatsApp, and all these various items are used in the process of collaborating on video. And what we do is either help to eliminate the need for them or stitch them together and integrate them into one place. And so essentially what it does is it takes the chaos of collaboration and it puts it all down into more of a single source of truth. And you can kind of see, again, whether you're trying to communicate, whether you're just trying to, view things and review it, whether you're trying to share files, whether you're trying to, use some of your creative tools to edit. These are essentially all things that we can either, again, replace or integrate with. So, we have the ability to sort of share and review and communicate within the platform itself. So you don't need to go out to email and some of these other places. And we have the fastest file transfer, and we include all of our storage. So we're like literally 5 times faster at transferring files than, say, like Dropbox, right? Which doesn't matter really if you're talking like a couple gigs, no big deal. But if you're talking like, hey, we just shot like 40 minutes of some 4K video, that extra time sitting around waiting is wasted time. And so, we tend to do a better job within this process of collaboration than a lot of these things that are stitched together. And there are 6 big things that we do. The 6th I'll show you on the next slide here, but this is kind of the first 5 and the wheelhouse of Frame.io. This is why people use us. And today we've got over 1 million users on the platform. So first off, we have the fastest file transfer on the web. So we've tested this up and down. There's an entire set of testimonials on our website for people that have used it. Basically, we've built it so that we can use the entire bandwidth of your internet to transfer your video files, whereas other providers have not done that. And we can move your files much quicker in and out of the cloud as a result. It's a single source of truth to keep all of your assets related to projects. And again, I keep talking about video, but it's file agnostic. So you can put audio files in there. You guys are radio stations. You can put audio files. You can put stills in there. You can put PDFs. You can put screenshots, documents, whatever it is. It acts as a single source of truth for all of your assets and all the members of the team that are associated or collaborating on a particular project. And then it gives you the ability, again, to collaborate with them in real time. We've got some tremendous integrations, and I would have told you well before the Adobe acquisition that my favorite integrations are our Adobe integrations. We have great integrations. I'll show you what it looks like in Adobe Premiere, but we integrate with After Effects. But we're also, just because we're Adobe, it doesn't mean we don't integrate with other things. So we integrate with Avid, we integrate with Final Cut, DaVinci Resolve, Colorfront. We have a lot of different partners depending on what the task is that we go ahead and integrate with. And essentially that means creatives can stay in the tools that they love, and leaders that are bringing this in don't necessarily have to get people to change up their workflows a whole lot to integrate Frame.io into the process. So the 5th thing we do is give you a really slick and really cool way to just share and present your work, to review content, to collaborate, again, to get people's feedback and stuff. I'm going to show you some of that. And then the last thing that we do was more of a recent innovation. And, a lot of you guys hadn't been familiar with Frame.io, so you may not have heard this. This was a pretty big deal, though. We actually announced this capability in May of last year, and we've continued to build upon it. And we call it Camera to Cloud. What Camera to Cloud is essentially through one piece of third-party hardware called a Teradek Cube. You guys are tech guys, so you may know Teradek or not. But the Teradek Cube is like a small device. It's a little bigger than like an iPhone. You can attach it to the cameras. You can pretty much put it anywhere in your set. But what it's going to do is connect to the internet and it could connect via just like a hotspot on your phone or any Wi-Fi or hardwire. There's a lot of ways you can connect it, but it connects to the internet and then it connects to your camera. And then you sync the Teradek with Frame.io. And essentially what you then do is with your cameras as you're shooting, that footage is being streamed into Frame.io. And the second you hit break on the cameras, it's there. Proxy version of that file is there instantly for viewing. And our vision is to basically be able to stream it in so people can watch it as it's being shot. So we've essentially taken and eliminated the need to, physically move files and, video out of the cameras and into the cloud for collaboration. We get it there instantly. So you can imagine like that's been pretty game changing. We've had anywhere from, again, broadcast news using it for breaking news reports and getting it to social teams quickly, getting raw footage to VFX artists. We've had reality shows. We have like the Golden State Warriors have been doing like webinars for us on how they use camera to cloud. We're like the only thing that they use now to get their footage up into their editors and whatnot instantly. So pretty cool stuff. And, like right now, it's typically more of your higher end cameras, like your REs and Reds and your Sony FS series and, some Canons and so on. There's, it's higher end, more professional tools, but really our vision is to continue to work technologically here to enable this for pretty much any camera that you can connect to the internet, whether that's, GoPro or drones or, even, 3.6 billion iPhones out there, just be able to get your footage into the cloud as quick as possible. It's a big part of why we've been successful is we just help people get stuff done faster. And I guess the thing that I say the most to people is like, there's a lot of like cool features. I could go on and on and on like, hey, here's this little feature about Frame.io or that one. But really at the end of the day, what Frame.io does is it gets creative people home at night. It gets you home for dinner because it really eliminates a lot of the wasted time that you're just sitting around waiting for stuff to get done. And it helps to speed things along. It helps you to produce more great video content quicker, and just ultimately helps to create a lot of efficiency within the process of collaboration. So I'm going to get rid of these slides because slides are boring. Let me stop sharing here. And I'm actually going to show it to you here. So give me 1 second. My other monitor here. All right. So first thing I'm going to do, this is my Frame.io instance here. And first thing I'm going to do is send some files into Frame.io. So I'm just going to literally show you how easy it is to put files into the cloud. It's just drag and drop. That I put this folder off my desktop. We also have this transfer app as well, which is pretty nice, especially for large files. But, there's a lot. And then, obviously I just talked about camera to cloud being another way to get footage into Frame.io. There's a lot of different ways. And again, our claim to fame is that we are just lightning fast. And again, we're substantially faster than any transfer or storage solution that you've tried. I can almost promise you that. And, obviously we offer, some enterprise trials and things like that for folks that want to kind of test that out. But anyways, the reason I like to use this folder in the demo here is because, there is video file here and it's got this nice little scrubby tool you can use or whatnot. But, there's also like stills, there's PDFs, there's, you can put documents. So again, point being, everything we do is specifically created for video, but there's other things that go along with your video projects, cast lists or contact information, schedules, all these fun things. And all these things can be stored in Frame.io with no problem. Also, when you drag a folder or put any folder, I might have, 20 subfolders there and then another 100 under that. It keeps all of the structure of your folder intact, which is nice. You don't have to, some of our competitive solutions basically take all the files out of the folders and make you reorganize them when they come in, which doesn't make any sense. So just from an admin perspective, there's some backend controls here in terms of adding team members and managing projects and managing stories or storage and things like that. So pretty simple and intuitive, way if I want to invite members to and add them to a particular team or a project, I can do that all here on the back end. There's some security things. So, for those of you that work with, some larger companies, obviously security around content is a pretty big topic. Typically we, move those particular conversations to my team, which is the enterprise team. And the reason for that is we have SOC 2 type 2 level security on everybody's content, which, I'm not a super technical guy, so I couldn't tell you all the, intricate details behind that. But to me, it means we have banking level security around people's video content and enterprise. The retail plans that you would go online and kind of put your credit card in for, you know, at the website or whatnot, do not have that level of security. So there is some distinction between the two things. And then over here, you'll see kind of in the example, I have an example here where I have several different teams sort of one, you know, under one umbrella, right? Like I have some stuff here for the photo team and, you know, some stuff for VFX and some other stuff in the video team. So that's another difference between what our enterprise solution actually is versus sort of the standard basic retail solutions. You do have the ability with enterprise to have different teams and different folks assigned to various roles within those teams. So, but really the magic of Frame.io happens in the collaboration. So I'm just going to hop into one of these videos and kind of show you, you know, what this stuff looks like. So, you know, there's a big, beautiful player here. There's all your basic controls here, your playback controls, your speed, your volume, you know, the quality controls. There's also some guides here. So if you want to watch it in like a 1-to-1 aspect ratio or a different aspect ratio while you're playing it back, so you can get a sense of, oh, you know, how's this going to look on Instagram as we play it? We can do that if we wanted, right? We go right through here. And there's some nice keyboard controls here that I can start and stop. I'm going to turn the guide off here just so you get a sense, and I'll show you a little bit in terms of like, you know, what we can do in terms of collaboration. So, all right, there's looks like a little Beats logo here. You can draw on the screen if you want. I'm gonna take that off, and instead of that, I'm gonna use an arrow. This logo right here, shapes, colors, you can do what you want, right? And I'll just hashtag that for legal too, since legal is gonna be part of my workflow. I don't know if we need to blur that or not. I can leave that comment here, and you'll see all these other comments down. Some other people have said various things, right? So if I want to see what Vivian's talking about, I can literally click on the comment. It's bringing me right to the exact frame. And there's time format, but I can also change this if I want to look at it to really give frame accurate feedback here. We can go to a certain frame if we want. I can actually drag this time. I hold down shift and drag it frame by frame here in a nice slow fashion if I wanted, or I can quickly navigate to where people have made comments by clicking on the bubbles here. You can see this is the one I just made. So pretty intuitive when it comes to just being able to comment and talk about things and tell people exactly, you know, what it is you're talking about. And I'm going to do a little bit more with this in particular, but I realize I've kind of gone through quite a bit here in the last, you know, call it 15 minutes. So I want to just pause for a second and see if there's any questions that anybody might have before I keep going. All good? All
Okay.
right.
No. How is it that you can transfer files from me faster than I can send them to somebody else? What's the secret there?
So as I understand it, it's the way that the file is sort of packed and unpacked, and it's the amount of bandwidth that the connection can actually devote to the file transfer itself. And I guess, like, you know, if you take a large file, the way that I understand it technologically is we break it into a lot smaller pieces and move it using the full bandwidth of your internet connection. Whereas certain like files, so like you know, like a Dropbox or a Google Drive or like Box or any of those like kind of like more popular storage connections, we built that specific to move video files. They just built to move files. So when you're moving a large video file, you're only moving it at a certain percentage of bandwidth that's available. And therefore, the side-by-side tests, we're going to win on them each and every time.
Okay.
That's about the least technical way that I could describe it to you, but that is sort of the, I guess, the base understanding that if you don't have deep technological expertise, it's just about using the full bandwidth.
I have one here for the customers. How much storage limitation do they have for availability?
Yeah, it's a good question. So no limitations, first of all. Depending on the plan, we have a couple of, like I said, the retail plans that I mentioned on, you can go on the website. One is 250 gigs you get. The next one up, I think, is like 500 gigs. Our enterprise plans come standard with a terabyte of hot and a terabyte of cold. So you get, terabyte of active, a terabyte of archival. But like you can add active storage at $720 a year per terabyte, or archival storage at $120 a year per terabyte. So, what we find is that, we can always scale it up. So we wouldn't necessarily call it a limitation. Our archival is awesome. Like in many cases, if you're using archival services, it could take you a few days to get large files, and we could pretty much get you any file within like 3 to 4 hours, which is pretty nice. Like if you're just going to park something for a rainy day and you're not going to need immediate access to it, moving something over to archive, and you can build up archive storage pretty easily and have access to those files. So it's more about, what I try to do is figure out, all right, what does the workflow look like? Are we going to be, more of a storage solution? For some, we are. Like some come, we want 80 terabytes, and because this is what we're going to do, and we want to use this as almost like a MAM. But in other cases, you may have like a super large MAM and we connect Frame.io almost as like a layer on top of it. And Frame.io is going to be the platform that, the content that's being actively worked is going to pass through in and out of the MAM. So and so then storage becomes less of a concern or a big ticket. So for me, a lot of that just comes down to just doing some light consulting and figuring out how what the workflows are like.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Good questions. Anything else before we keep going? All right, I'm gonna show you a couple little things. This, little stuff in here. There's like some workflow tools. If I want to say like, all right, we just looked at it, needs some more review or whatnot. Different people use this in different ways. I'm going to show you the sharing options, but I can also share this link out of here. Some cool stuff. Like I just did that thing for legal, right? Like if there were 100 comments and I'm like the company attorney, I don't want to read through all that mess. I can come right here in the search bar and just type legal. And now, boom, I can go to exactly where I want. So, and that works for obviously any search term or whatnot. But if you're just looking for something real quick, it's super easy. Some of these you can see their check boxes. So you can also use these as like a checklist. Like, hey, once the work's done, check the box and we'll move it. And I have the ability to hide completed comments. So that's also a nice little workflow option where it's like, all right, the stuff that we've done, let's get rid of it. And then that way we know only the stuff we're looking at here is the stuff that we've got to work on today. And then also on the back end, you can also, like if a project's done, you can go ahead and download like an entire audit trail of every single comment, every single edit, every single suggestion that was made on the entire project, and then just go ahead and store it in archive if you want as well. So, some nice little things there on the back end. A couple other cool things here to show you with Frame.io. Every time that you put a video file into Frame.io, we actually create proxies for you on the back end. So if I go here, you see the original camera file here shot in 1280. There's 3 proxies. This one here shot in 4K, 5 proxies. And I can download any one of these right now if I wanted. And then this one, I think, 1920 and 4 proxies. So, and the proxies do not count against your storage. So where this gets real nice, let's say you have like a VFX artist that, on After Effects or whatnot, that's just, in the middle of the woods and on on dial up, and they just need to get eyes on the actual content so they can do their work in After Effects. That proxy workflow and giving them access to like the proxy of what this actually is going to look like can be extremely beneficial and very powerful. And then there's other little kind of customizations. If you have, you can set it up to push to YouTube or Vimeo, or, if you still want to maintain Dropbox, you can have some automations built in. We are built with an open API. So for those of you on the call that may have done any, like development work in the past or worked with developers, That's a really attractive quality about Frame.io, is the fact that we do support open APIs, and therefore it does allow for some customizations to be built here and there within workflows. And it allows us to just kind of better connect at times, our platform to the tools that people are relying on for, whether it's project management or communication or things like that, right? So a lot of little integrations and other stuff, like we integrate like with Slack, right? So you can set up set it up via API where every time like somebody puts a new comment in, or anytime a new video is added to a project or an edit is done, that type of thing, that a notification goes out in Slack. And if that's people's, existing way to communicate, we can do that too. So there's a lot of different possibilities that are really kind of designed to make things, fairly simple and easy. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to flip flop back over to my other screen here. I'm going to pull up Premiere. All right. So this is Adobe. I'm just going to refresh this. It's been sitting up here for a second. But this is my Adobe Premiere, and this experience is pretty much the same with After Effects as well. Similar look and feel. So native extension, you just go in, you download the Frame.io extension into Premiere. You do it once, you authenticate yourself via web, just like your username and password. And then it gives you access to Frame.io right within Adobe Premiere. So this actually, I believe, was a video we were just looking at. Right. So here I am in Premiere, and I got all this stuff, and it's in real time. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to import this file. I'll just take a proxy for now. I'll import this file into my project folder. All right, cool. And I'm going to drag it over my timeline. And then I'm going to go into this. This is a really important button right here. It's called Link Playheads. And by doing this, what it's going to do is now as I move the, hit play, and this begins to play back, it's also going to move on my timeline as well. So it's going to sync the two together. You'll see that here. All right, now here's the so what, who cares? You can see down here, it's moving on my timeline. And now when I click on what people are saying, it's bringing me to the exact frame on my timeline where I actually have to do the edit, which is amazing. Here's the comment that I just made, right? So as an editor, I'm not sitting here questioning what frame are they talking about? What logo are they talking about? It's all right there, and it's right on my timeline, which is tremendous. I would say editors and whatnot, Premiere users are typically changing the view to use this more comment-rich view, which is nice. And it can be used, you can see here, use it as like a little punch list, right? And I can also reply to this. Talking to myself apparently on Frame.io, commenting back and forth to myself, but I do that so you can see it'll actually populate here in the web instance. So the nice thing for me as an editor, though, I don't have to leave my tool. I'm right in Premiere, and I have the full ability to get people's feedback, communicate with them. I can respond to them. I can do all my job, my edits, and so on. And what's really cool is if I went through here, I'm not going to do all the edits, but let's say if I went through here and did this stuff, and I was ready for this next version, I've done it. Hey, here's our latest version. I can go here and hit upload active sequence. And you can see this option to auto version. I'm going to show you what that means and looks like here in a moment. But if I hit this upload button right now, two things are going to happen. One, it's going to render the file using Media Encoder like it would normally do in Premiere. But when it's done that, it's going to automatically send it to Frame.io as the most recent version of this particular project. So again, pushing it right out of Premiere back into Frame.io. I'm not going to do that yet, but I am going to come back to my web instance to kind of show you, again, from a collaboration standpoint. if I go into this video that we were just looking at, you should notice like I was in Premiere and I just made this comment a minute ago. So anybody who's sitting at their laptop or their desktop, I could go right here into my app, and we've got a tremendous app. And you know, there's the comment, I'll take care of this today, right in my app. And I have the ability to also, I can view the video right there. Our app actually won an Apple Design Award, which by the numbers is tougher to do than win an Emmy. And it's really solid. One of the coolest things about the app too is if you have, it'll do Apple AirPlay in full HDR. So if you actually have like a really, you know, high res file and you want to show off your hero shot, like I've done this, like I have a nice 65-inch 4K TV, and I can AirPlay right off of my Frame.io app, literally the hero shot in full resolution on that TV, which is, you know, that's a nice thing if you want to hand that to an executive, you know, and give them that capability because it's super easy and it works well. So real quick, I want to show you about versions and version control, because I haven't quite done that here. There are two versions of this file, this Alt V1 and Alt V4. And what I'm going to do is do what's called a version stack. And I'm going to drag this because the one we were looking at was an updated version of the other file. So first off, let me go back here and I'll show you this little nuance. You'll see here, I stacked one on top of the other. And now I have this little V2 right here, which means there's two files in this version stack. And you also see that right here. And I could go back to version 1 and see all the comments for version 1 here. If I'm going to click on version 2, I can now see version 2. I can also compare. And I love this. Stick them next to each other, play them back. Change the music out if you want. You can see the, you know, the exact frames, but you know, you can see the second version is a little more color graded than the first. So you can get feedback on what that looks like. And then I should also add that in your version stacks, you can have, there's no limit to the amount of versions. So if we just continue, like I said, if I was in Premiere there a moment ago, looking at this one file, and if I would have, you know, rendered that file and uploaded it as the latest version, it would have arrived here and there would be a V3, and the version that I just did all those edits on in Premiere would be the latest version of that in the version stack. So it's a really nice way to kind of keep on top of the progression of your work and to keep version control really top of mind throughout the entire process. So the last thing I'm going to talk about is review links. But before I get into, you know, sort of the reviewing process, I again wanted to sort of pause and see if there were any questions. All right, cool. Well, I'm gonna get on with this then. All right, now, wheelhouse for us is sharing content, right? I'm gonna actually unstack this version stack for a second so that I can just go back to the video that we were just looking at. Again, this is the video that we were just looking at. And let's say now we want to send this out for, you know, some feedback, some questions to various stakeholders. We're in the midst of editing it. I can click those dots and share it here. I can also decide to share up here. There's two ways, two different methods of sharing. One's called a review link. One's called a presentation. I guess my way of describing this is a review link. I consider like a two-way street, meaning you want to send it out there, you want feedback to come back. There's going to be a lot of back and forth. A presentation is more something that you're going to brand yourself, kind of a final cut, something you want to send to an executive stakeholder for their thumbs up, or a client pitch, that type of thing. A little bit more of a one-way street. You want that to land land well with your final stakeholder there. So those are the two ways that you can share. So I'm going to share with the review link and show you a couple of basic options associated with it. So first off, it can be private, meaning invite only. I can invite just a specific person. Like I can invite Meg, right? Like, or, anybody I want, but they would have the ability to access that content. And because I want to show you what this looks like, I'm going to switch it to public today and make this a public link. Now, if I move down here in settings, and I'll just say this is SB demo share. Well, that's what we'll call this video. And I can do a few things. I can allow download permissions or disable. I can, allow ability to comment or approve. Do I want to show all versions or just the most recent? Do I want to add some security by adding a password? Maybe I don't want this link out here forever. I'll expire it at the end of next week. Christmas, that's fine. And then there's also, and this is unique to enterprise, we do have the ability to add a watermark ID. So I'll show you what that looks like as well. All right. But this is just now, we're going to share this video. And here's where it gets cool. Like you don't need to be an authenticated user to review, comment, draw on the screen. Truthfully, if you want, I can do it this way. If I go right into, find my Zoom controls real quick. I don't know if you guys can copy and paste that link out of Zoom chat. But if you do, you should be able to see this. And this was the video file that we were just looking at. And you'll see it's there in a nice little watermark, and you should have the ability, if you want to, to draw on the screen. If you want to leave a comment, you can do that, because again, this is a public link, and I can literally, as an authenticated user that can generate these links, I can send this link out to anybody. I could send it to my mom and hey mom, what do you think? And she would be able to comment and draw on the screen if she wanted. So, the only reason that reviewers would want to be, like if people were only going to review and that was their only role, if they would want to be authenticated, would be with like secure content. So, like I'm working with a top 10 all-time video game franchise that is making the next iteration of that game right now. And they're going to use Frame.io to collaborate in all their cutscenes and their video work. But the security around that is so intense. Nothing is public. No links can be out. It doesn't matter if you're just looking at it to review or if you're a full-blown editor. Everything has to be behind a security fence. So we do have plenty of situations like that call for that, and we're perfectly able to accommodate that as well. It would just require a different type of setup where we authenticate everybody coming in as a rule. But another kind of cool thing that I'm going to show you here, if I go back to my history of review links, this is the one I just created. But let's say like, oh, geez, man, I made a mistake. And I meant to include a lot of files, not just the one video file. There was a whole bunch of stuff I meant to send, right? And so I meant to send this one. I meant to send the location folder, the VFX. I want you guys to look at the dailies. Here's the pre-prod notes, and I'm going to save that now. The nice thing is, rather than me being like, oh, hey guys, sorry, I sent the link. It was the wrong thing. Like I didn't have all the stuff there. That same link that I just gave you guys in that chat, if you click on it now, you'll see all 7 of those things. And because I enabled downloads, they're downloadable, etc. But the bottom line is I can make adjustments to what's behind that review link. All I'm doing is essentially creating a review link when I go to share, but I have the ability to manage the content that's behind that review link. So I can change that out. And if I made a mistake or forgot something, or, there's plenty of other use cases where that's a super practical thing, but it's just nice because you don't have to make a stink of it to everybody. You can just manage that content. And then like you can also go ahead and like, man, that link's been out there forever. I can kill all these old links if I want, and now they're inaccessible. So you have a, kind of again, a single place to manage what's out there and what's being shared. Same holds true with the presentations, or if you have any devices connected for camera to cloud, which I personally do not. All that stuff is right here for you. So I think to kind of tie it all together and put a bow, what we saw here today is high-speed file transfer, right? And it's pretty easy, whether you're just drag and drop. I mentioned we have a transfer app, there's camera to cloud, different ways to get your content into Frame.io. It can be any content. You guys are radio stations, there'll be a lot of audio in there, so you can listen to your audio. You're not really going to draw on the screen for that, but there are tools that you can still, value you can still get, and things you can still use for audio along with the video and stills. So there's that. You see how easy it is to sort of collaborate, everything stitched together between my laptop, my, Premiere, After Effects, my app, and then anybody else who's on my team that's linked to that project will have that same real-time experience in terms of collaboration and communication. You see some deep integrations. I got to show you one there with Adobe Premiere, but we have a host of deep integrations that basically allow people, again, to just work in the tools that they're used to. We've got that really just easy way, like literally you generate a link and you hand it to your CMO and it comes up real smooth and they can just say what they want. I tell you, that experience has been a real game changer for a lot of companies because they're using other tools, whether, it's Vimeo or other sharing tools that can just get a little more complicated and frustrating for people. I think, the thing that I hear the most is people they really love our product, but I kind of liken it to like an iPhone because it's pretty simple. Like it's not hard to figure out and it works. It does what it's supposed to. And if I would say like, I'll definitely, let me put my email address in here, my phone number. I'll drop you, I'll give you my LinkedIn profile as well. I mean, I'm happy to stay connected with any of you guys and to answer questions, or if you had other people that thought, hey, maybe, they'd want to see it. I don't know if it'd be me doing it or somebody else perhaps running a demo for you guys, but this is also me. If y'all want to stay connected, I'm happy to do that and kind of happy to be a steward of your Frame.io experience here over the next however many weeks, months, years.
I'm so pleased. This is an idea that's come at the right time. What a great idea. Something I wouldn't have thought of, but you certainly did.
I have a question. I don't know if you can hear me or not.
I can.
Hi there. My name is Mike Simons. I'm the engineering director at the Minnesota House of Representatives. We have a television department here. I don't know if you're familiar with Grass Valley Stratus at all.
Personally, I'm not.
Okay. It's basically so it's a kind of an environment where we have local storage. So we have a SAN with 3 editors, high-speed editors, so they're connected via iSCSI. And so there's kind of a asset management kind of component to it. But we also use Adobe Creative Suite for all of our video editing and stuff. And there's a plugin that Grass makes, so you can kind of get in and out of the Stratus environment, via high-speed assets. So you could say, for example, on your timeline, you're editing with proxies, or within your asset manager, you're looking at everything via proxy while you have all the actual high bandwidth video on the SAN itself. So by the time you're done with something, you can, send it on its way that way. I guess I was wondering, and maybe you don't know this, but because it was nice to see how you're able to kind of comment on video, because a case here we'll have somebody who will edit, will then obviously get sent to the producer for review. And then the producer was like, okay, we'll make this change or whatever. I was just wondering if there was any kind of, I saw you doing it with Premiere. I guess I was just wondering if there's somehow to kind of marry that all together to where we could say, keep working on our SAN while using Creative Suite. Am I making sense at all?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think what you're speaking to is just, a unique workflow. Every tech stack is a little bit different. though a lot of the common tools are there that, that we see. And I think, from like a asset management standpoint, I'll be the first to tell you, like, I don't think that's our strength, right? Like, I've had some people come to me and say, like, can we use you as a man? Like, want to consider that? And like, I think our strength is really more in that collaboration, that kind of lickety split nature of the way that we work there. And so, I think we are purposefully designed, and I'm not as like versed on the connections that your stack there may have for it. But I would tell you, like, a lot of times we just envision this as sort of a way to plug in, like sit on top of that, right? And to really kind of act as all like the gateway and all the active projects that are coming in and out, because we send stuff in and out of MAMs all the time. And where why that actually becomes a preferred workflow is because of some of the things you're saying. Like, it's harder to comment, it's harder to like communicate within that sometimes, whereas that's where it's like really good for us. So if we can just figure out, okay, how do we connect and get that file into Frame.io, either via API manually or some type of automation. We even have automations, even little things like watch folders on a MacBook can automatically send files to Frame.io. A lot of little ways to do it. And this is typically where I might get one of my, like my solutions engineer was the senior vice president of post-production for Discover Networks, right?
Sure.
So this guy knows his stuff. And this is where I get my guys like that in to do some deeper consulting on the tech stack and figure out, okay, what's the most efficient way that we can move these files and create value for the team there.
Okay. Yeah, and our issue isn't necessarily about moving files. It's that kind of that collaborative level that you're talking about. Because like now, I mean, we do all this editing, but because we're basically a newsroom environment is what we do. We do nonpartisan news. That's our thing. And there's just that layer, because like right now an editor, he'll have to go actually make a video, he'll go and make this and then go look at it, and if there's any changes he's got to go back, instead of having kind of that as you go, like you're showing the arrows and pointing at that kind of collaborative level. And that's something we're currently looking for. How can we bring that up versus, because right now it's between editors we could share assets. From this editor, I can bring a video over and back and forth on that kind of that file level kind of thing.
Yeah.
But as you're showing that collaborative level, especially in our environment, that's something we're looking, how can we get more of that? And trying to see if something kind of fits, or like you said, there's a layer you can put on there.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, it may seem like a small thing because and I don't feature it much, but I mean, I did show you my phone. I talked about the app there a little bit, like just the fact that I can get in and draw on the screen on my app. I could be in the kitchen making eggs, and my editor can be like, "Hey, what do you think of this?" Whatever. I can sit there and draw on my screen. Can you and write on my phone and right back to cooking eggs.
Yeah, well, and that's another one too. Is because of COVID, there's been a lot of work from home scenarios going on. And so we're trying to also figure out, how can we get the humans to be off-prem and still try to get some of these tasks done, where say, like, well, for example, my boss right now, he's the executive producer. He's trying to burn PTO, but yet he's the executive producer, and we just had a production today, so he had to hop in remotely and just check on something, give an approval or whatever, Yeah. And so to be able to just do something like that on his phone, if there's a way we can kind of get that layer integrated into our environment.
This is what I would tell anybody here. Like, first off, you can get a free account. You just get Frame.io and sign up. It gives you like 2 gigs of storage. It doesn't allow you to do much, but at least gives you like, all right, I have a foot in the door. There's the credit card accounts where you can go on and like get on there for like, like $25 a month or something like that, or you know what I mean? Yeah. And get you a little storage to go with it and a little more power. It doesn't give you the enterprise level. And then there's guys like me that handle enterprise. And again, it's like our full solution, everything, which for most cases, that's what larger teams want. A little more price to it, but at the end of the day, to try it, like if you came to me and said, hey, we got like 20 people involved in our workflow here. We're doing all this, nonpartisan news, a lot of people involved. We're trying to tighten things up. like I need 20 licenses for a month trial. Like, look me up. I'll train the team. Well, I can show you what it all would like cost out and everything. We can have those conversations, but like every single deal I've sold, I've given the platform to people 3-4 weeks. Like, please go try it first. Make sure this works. Like, get excited about it. Then you're actually excited. Like, yeah, where do I sign? Because
Sure.
it's a good tool, but I will always offer that opportunities just to make sure, like, because you'll feel it. Like, you feel the speed at which things are going. And like, I'm very much about putting our money where our mouth is.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yeah. So I encourage you guys to keep in touch, or, as you have questions, get free accounts. Like, you want to bring me into a conversation anywhere else. That's what I'm here for. For sure.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else? Top of mind? Well, if not, I'll just say thank you, man. It was really nice to spend an hour with you guys today, and get to meet some new people. And
No,
hopefully,
thank you very much for doing this.
pleasure, and happy to do it again. Feel free to share the recording. Or again, if you find any find any other folks that might be interested or whatever, or have a need or some curiosity, look me up.
The recording will appear as a link on sbe17.org, sbe17.org as a link, but it takes a couple days, so hang in there.
Yeah, or if you want to get really fancy, right? Download the file. Download the file. Go get yourself a Frame.io account. Stick it in there as a review link.
That's what I was thinking.
I could send some follow-ups. I actually like to do that. Like, I send some of our content. Like, we have like a little 90-second what is Frame.io video. So sometimes when I meet with people, I'm like, oh, I want to tell my boss what it is. I'll be like, well, here's a review link. Send them this. And so we actually, I'll use that. I'll use our platform a lot for sharing our things. So not uncommon. But either way, thank you again, guys. It was a pleasure. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Bruce.
All right.
Jaw dropping. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Hey, man, I'm glad. Have a great day, and look me up if I can ever be helpful.